Hey guys!
Hi.
I'm so excited to be with you today. I would love for you to just introduce yourself. Tell me your role here at Gestalt Community Schools. Let's just dive in there.
Okay. I'm Bobbie Turner. I'm the Chief Academic Officer of Gestalt Community Schools, and I'm entering my 12th year here in the organization.
Okay.
Wow.
My name is Ashley Griffin. I'm the proud principal of Power Center Academy Middle School, Hickory Hill, which is the flagship of all of our schools.
Okay.
And I was a founding teacher here, so it's a special place in my heart.
Interesting. Glad to have you in so many dual roles here. So we'll jump right in, Bobbie. I just want to start with you. And so just tell me your initial thoughts, maybe around conversations that we've had in the past around innovation and scholar experiences. And what were your thoughts?
Okay. Well, I'll preface the question by saying at CAO, I'm always thinking about scholar recruitment and retaining our scholars. So that's always playing in the back of my mind. And I feel like my major role is to ensure we have a really strong product for you to sell. So the academic programming and the success of that is really my driving force around that. So when it comes to, our conversation, honestly, I would have to say that it never really started with, hey, let's think about some ways that we can increase scholar recruitment and make sure that it really came out of organic conversations. And I think it was built over time. I mean, we have a really strong relationship. And I don't know what most organizations, what that looks like in terms of the CAO and the recruitment team. But for us, it's really about the conversations we've had about scholars. And oftentimes, many of the programs I know we're going to be talking about came out of these conversations around how do we improve scholar experiences, what are the gaps that we're seeing, and just really dreaming big about the things that we want to see in our schools. And I think that in itself speaks to then how we can later recruit. But I will say that what I think is unique about our relationship is, and I think the recruitment team as a whole, is your presence in the building, right?
Yes, yes.
And I think then you can speak to the experiences that both that are positive and not so positive, that I think sort of drives our conversations. So I do remember us standing in the break room and just having this conversation around student-run businesses and what that could look like. But honestly, Tina, where that really started? It was with you hosting a club in the afternoon, right? And out of that, I think there's this entrepreneurial spirit that runs through Gestalt. So I mean, everybody from parents, from the CMO schools, everybody has their side hustle. So we're always sort of talking about that. And we know that our end goal is for our kids to be entrepreneurs, but we're actually talking about that. What would that look like for us to have a network run business? And that was what, 2 years ago?
Yes.
And we came up with a plan, and so this was not necessarily anything that was in your role or description, but I think it just came from your immersion into the schools and what you wanted for our schools. And I think that's a lot of the conversations that we have are very much organic.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's been great. It's been great, Griffin. I'm telling you, it was great. The spark that we had when we talked about that was just like unbelievable.
So how did y'all keep the ball moving from the idea to the implementation piece?
I think it was more like Bobbie, like, Tina, hey, how you coming? Or be like, hey, I'm done with this. Let's go. Where's the money at? You know.
And that's exactly what happened. I don't know if we were on the phone or we were something. I said, well, Tina, come up with sort of the skeleton of it. We sat a couple of times, and created a pitch that we were going to get together. And we began the process of sort of massaging that and what that could actually look like. But we literally, I pushed Tina on that. Go ahead and do this pitch for Yetta, and so it wasn't a hard sale. It was then just about. I think we immediately got some interest with that from Junior Achievement, and then COVID happened, so we had to pause for a minute. But it literally happened in that way. We pitched it, Yetta said yes, and so now we're at a point now where we're ready to start the implementation process. So,
Is there anything that is long-term vision-wise that you're like, we're not quite there yet, because we have a lot of things going on and we're going to talk about it, but are there any pieces that are like tabled, like, okay, for the future?
Yeah, a lot. You know, in our 5-year strategic plan, Bobbie can probably speak more to it. But our year to remember with our scholars, like that's a big piece.
It's a big piece
around like what the scholars are experiencing at school and what brings them back to schools. Like what are they experiencing so much in the schools that they say, I want to go back to Power Center Academy every year, year after year after year. And so just the bigger picture is that when they reflect back, when they leave us, it's like, I had an amazing experience at Power Center Academy.
Yeah, and it is a part of our long-term 5-year strategic plan, and I think it is going to just be an exceptional tool for the recruitment team to actually use around that. But you know, I guess I didn't think about that, but it has been building towards that, and I knew that Yetta's like, oh, you're really excited about this, and so you know, I guess I owe that to you as well. But it is a part of our 5-year strategic plan in terms of scholar experience and what that looks like, and many of those things, many of the programs that we have that we cannot tap into, you know, we're directly connected to.
And it's not often that you have an organization that will specifically say, we have a 5-year plan for scholar experience.
Right.
Like we have a 5-year plan for academic success. We have a 5-year plan for even maybe facilities, phasing out, building out. But for our organization to say like, we're going to be strategic about the scholar experiences, I think is profound and it's really exciting for me, even as a school leader.
Yes, yes. So let's talk about a school leader. Let's talk about some programming. You know, let's talk about it.
Okay.
Let's talk about, you know, the VIP program. You know, that was a brainchild of mine that I concoctioned up. And basically, in my mind, I wanted something different to recognize scholars for their hard work and for them representing our core values, which we, you know, drive in and lean into every day with them.
Right.
And so I came to you and I was like, hey, Miss Griffin, I got a thought. What you think? You know, and just speak to, you know, just my proposal and, you know, even the thought around like the buy-in from you, because that was a piece in itself too. So
yes, so for our middle school, I know the program's been going on for a few years now, but for our middle school, last year was our founding year for the VIP program, and I could not have anticipated how it would take off the way it did, but it was exciting. So when you came to me, you were like, hey, I got this idea. And, you know, being a principal, sometimes you're like, what's the idea? But you was like, I'm gonna start the VIP program at your school. And I was like, okay, what is that? And so you started telling me about it. I said, absolutely, excellent. You know, let's set up a meeting to talk about it. And we did set up a meeting, and I brought some other people, key players in my school, to talk about it, plan about it, and be really intentional about how we roll this out. What I loved about the VIP program the most is that two things, actually. One, it brought back the sense that it's cool to be smart. It's cool to work hard and to attain your goals as a scholar, and I didn't want our scholars to lose that, especially with everything that happened with the pandemic and all those things. Coming back into the building, I want to be a scholar. I want to showcase like my brilliance and my intelligence, and so I wanted a program that would celebrate them for their hard work and core values, even behavior, attendance, meeting their goals on our MAP assessment, which measures growth for us in a way throughout the school year. And so I was excited about that. And the second thing I was excited about is that you have scholars who are excited about, you know, who they are, and oftentimes in schools they may not get the most attention, right? Because, and then we can all be honest, there are so many things that pull at leadership and teachers, and so there are some scholars that need more support than others, and so you find yourself zeroing in and making sure you target and make sure their needs are met. That sometimes you can forget about those scholars who are excelling and achieving and what their goals are. And so I wanted to be intentional on both ends. Like, yes, we have the supports, we have the interventions, we have all those things, but also we need to celebrate growth and achievement. And so I think our VIP program is one of the many ways that we can do that, but it's definitely the stellar program that we have. What I did not anticipate was the immediate buy-in from scholars because of the perks, but also it got to the point where they just wanted to say, I'm VIP. And so you saw that buzz happening in our school community, where now you have friends who are like, you need to do your work, because We VIP.
We VIP.
If you don't get your work done, you gonna miss your grades. You're gonna be put off for VIP. So like there was this peer, I wouldn't say pressure. It was more so peer like encouragement. And that's one of the things that we say here, like we power up our community by giving back, and we power up each other with encouragement. And so like you saw that just, I don't want to say organically happen, but really it was. It was organic, but it was really authentic, where scholars were actually encouraging each other to do their very best.
Absolutely.
And then parents got involved.
These
Parents was like, what does my child need to be, how can I support? Can you make sure that this is updated? Because I want to make sure that they don't lose their spot in VIP.
Yes.
And then, so not only did it move from scholars to parents, then I started getting proposals from staff to like, where's our VIP program?
Yes.
And so we did pilot it the fourth quarter, which is our last quarter, for our staff, and that was a huge hit. And so they got to be celebrated, and so it just became like this beautiful community of celebration that I'm excited that we're continuing this year.
Yeah.
And what's beautiful about this year is that now even sixth graders coming in, they already know the expectations before we even said anything. So that had to mean that 7th and 8th grade scholars and teachers, like, they are already talking about it. I'm already getting emails, when's the induction ceremony? So I appreciate you and thank you for like bringing that to our school community. It has been exciting and like very rewarding to see others love the fact that like I'm doing well and let me help someone else do well.
Yes.
And can I just say too that because the best recruitment tool I think are scholars.
Yes.
Right? And so I don't know if you remember this, but last year I was in your office and you had the scholar coming in and she was trying to negotiate how to get on the VIP. I don't know if it was a conduct or something, she didn't make the cut, but all of her friends were there and she was trying to really negotiate, well, what do I need to do to be a part of this whole program? So I think I can imagine kids talking about it to their parents and then that becoming something both parents and scholars then later tell other people about it. So I think that's just just speaks to how that the programs are very strategic, sometimes organic or whatever, but it becomes a part of a strategy around.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I just love to see how it just unfolded. And it started at the high school, and then last year was your first year at the middle school. I launched at the middle school, and I mean it's just a true turnover in my vision in the middle of the night. And so I love to see it. I love to hear about it. And when I'm in the school, the kids are like, I'm VIP, please stop.
There's a pride that comes with it, right?
Like,
there's a pride that say I'm VIP, I earned this, no one gave it to me. And so like even the character that you're instilling with our scholars is that you can work hard and get smart. And I know, with the equity piece is like it's on us as adults and in the school to make sure we give them the supports they need. But the core idea is if I work hard, if I put in the work, if I actually, work with my teachers and different things like that, I can achieve this. And so it's a different mindset shift to it is attainable. And I've seen that mindset shift not with just VIP, but I've seen it in other areas of our school community just in 1 year. So I'm excited to see year 2 and as we move forward and it gets bigger and better. My goal is, like for right now, it's about 10 to 15% of our school population. That was from last year when we started it. By the end of the school year, we had 100 kids out of 450, and that and actually earned it. And so I'm excited about this school year and just how that would grow. And what I also love about it is that you're not in competition with anyone.
Nope.
It's solely about you. It's solely about like, what am I doing? What goals am I reaching for myself? And so that's just one of the scholar experiences that I love. And kids tell it. Like even in my parent orientation for the summer, we had parents asking, can they go ahead and start wearing their VIP swag? And I was like, well, hold on. So, but just to have parents brought into that as well as scholars and staff. Staff know it's important. Like I got to make sure I get my grades in for my scholars because now scholars is like, can you update my grades? Respectfully, when are you on up? And I love that, and it's one of those things like it's really brought our school together, and it is a recruitment tool because scholars are going to speak about it, parents are going to talk about it, and you can see it's alive and well. Even when you walk the halls, like you'll see scholars have their VIP locker decals, and so it starts. And so it starts this conversation. Even if someone's visiting, like, oh, what's that? Oh, let me tell you about VIP. Even our scholar ambassadors, which I know you'll talk about in a minute, but even our scholar ambassadors, like, they want to showcase that, and a few of them are VIP scholars because we want a variety, but they can't wait to talk about it.
Yes. So, and I mean, amazing, just amazing, and just warms my heart to see the warmth and the turnover and the growth in the programs, and which leads me to scholar ambassadors, and just we have two different perspectives here. We have a school leader, we have a CAO, and so as we think about the bigger picture and retention and all these scholar experience programs that we've put in place, like Makerspace, the student-ran business, scholar ambassadors, VIP, even tapping into what the 5-year strategic plan around scholar experiences. Like, what are your thoughts when all of this is laid out on the table?
I think, well, part of innovation, right, is sometimes it's bringing in some things that are new, but it's also taking some things that are already in place and sort of improving upon them and making it. And it is all centered around the needs. So I look at sort of this menu of sort of experiences that our kids are having, and let's take, for example, Scholar Ambassador, which to me still goes back to our roots around our classroom ambassadors that really started with this idea around kids having multiple opportunities to learn how to speak, right? To engage with others, whether they're a stranger or someone that you know, but be able to articulate, this is what I am learning, and being inviting, knowing how to look for. So those core things, and not to be able to then move that to a different level where now they're speaking on behalf not of just their class but of their school, of the organization, just shows the ability of you and specifically being able to think through some of those core things that we already have within our school to be able to build upon that. So that part to me is part of the innovation. I know even with Makerspace, again, that came out of this design thinking that a couple of our kids had an opportunity one summer, and talking at scale, how can we get all kids to have an opportunity to be in that space, to be creative, to have this. I'm real big on giving kids playtime, even from K-12, but just this sort of structured play for them to be able to do that. What it does though, it gives kids, our kids are have all different types of ideas and thoughts. And I love the fact that we do have a menu of options for kids to be able to tap into. So whether it's VIP, whether it's being a scholar ambassador and being able to speak to my friends, whether it's this idea around trying to be creative and solve problems for my community. So for me, it's not enough, right? But it does speak to us being able to understand that we are trying to develop people and citizens, and a part of that is access to a variety of different opportunities and experience. So it just speaks to our ability, and that doesn't even talk about the community resources that we're able to connect with along this way. So I never would have initially thought, oh, this is recruitment, and for me it is this sort of connection between that. You understand the programming, right? You understand that because you've sat in class. I mean, we just had a meeting with STEM teachers yesterday. How many recruiters, scholar recruiters, are sitting in PD and saying, hey, how can we create a STEM day to make sure all kids have an opportunity to do that? So I think this speaks to you understanding school and not just your work in a silo.
Right.
So absolutely. And I'll add to the scholar ambassadors is one of the things that you mentioned about public speaking and being confident in when you speak and how you speak. But another thing is it gives a sense of ownership to the scholar of this is my classroom, you're welcome in, but this is also my school. Let me show you around. Let me show you where everything is, because I know, because I belong here. This is my space just as much as it is anyone else's. And so I think that's powerful in and of itself, that there is an idea of ownership where I can tell you what we're learning. Right? Because this is my classroom just as much as it is my teachers.
Exactly.
And there's this ownership around education and community that I think is really powerful when you start talking about scholar ambassadors and like how they show up and they can be themselves. I think that's really important. Like they're not reading through a script, right? Eventually, at the beginning, at the beginning, like so you're not nervous. Like this is the bare minimum that you should say, right? Introduce yourself. Let us know what you're learning. Invite us in, right? But you get so many different personalities, and now you see scholars coming out and saying, like, "Hey, y'all," or whatever it may be, and that is okay, and that's not only okay, it's celebrated. And so I'm glad she mentioned that because I've always loved our scholar ambassadors.
I mean, they give tours to our funders. I mean, they are doing it.
Exactly. Yeah. And how powerful is that for an adult to come into the building and you're greeted by a scholar who is going to show you their own school. Their own. So, and I speak to the scholar experience too. Like this is my school. I belong here, and I know I'm the one that can like be the champion and know what's going on in my school and tell you about it.
And I think that going back to recruitment, because particularly in middle and high, they have a lot of say-so in terms of where they go to school. And I think that whole, again, going back to understanding that and making sure that the recruitment is built around kids, right? The kid experience, how kids think, what motivates them, because I mean there are a lot of as a charter organization there are a lot of things I think in competing with traditional districts that we just don't have access to, whether a lot of time it is sports and different things around it. So we have to be really intentional about knowing our kids, because most of the kids here, if they wanted to play sports, they would be, but that's not necessarily their driving force. So we have to be really intentional about knowing who they are, how they show up within their community, how they see the world, what's important to them, and build those programmings around that. And then and then that in itself becomes a powerful, I think, recruitment tool for that, because they speak authentic about their experience. And I think even this whole part which I know you're talking about, I still go back to you as a recruiter, as a department. Knowing the organization and knowing each school, and each of our schools are not the same, and so knowing what each one of those needs are, and then being able to speak towards that. So I don't think it's more about you setting up recruitment events and organizing these things and making sure all these pamphlets are here and they go out or whatever. Those things are important. But I think the power and why we're here is because there's something different when you are a part of the school.
Absolutely, yes. And so I have just one final question that that you mentioned that drove this question. So like for me here at Gestalt Community Schools, I've had the opportunity and this kind of dual component of enrollment and innovation. And so some other charter schools, around the region in the U.S. may not have that standing opportunity to merge the two. So what thoughts do you have for someone who is in enrollment and their drive is just that, but they do have innovative and creative thoughts that they would like to see in the schools? And what's some feedback that you can offer them? Because I got a yes immediately, like, girl, go. You can do it, versus, okay, we really need you to just feet planted here, and we're gonna have to have somebody else to do that piece, because your work is to recruit and go get the kids.
Well, I can speak to it, and then of course I'll shift to Ms. Turner. I was actually going to say that there is a strong connection between scholar experience, enrollment or recruitment, and innovation. And so what we know is we cannot continue to do school as we used to do it 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 8 years ago, 3 years ago. There has to be a constant mindset about innovation and how do we become better, and what impacts another department or what impacts another organization. And so a lot of times people look at it as recruitment as like, let's just get scholars in the building. But if you really think about it from a lens of the 21st century and where we are now, it's not just good enough to get them in the building, because that doesn't keep them there, right? So scholar experience, and it's really like a cycle, right? So you have strong scholar experiences, it's going to help with recruitment. You're going to have kids kids that want to come in, and then when they get there, it's going to like, I got to stay here. Let me tell somebody else about it. And it's just this ongoing cycle of innovation and enrollment, all those different things around scholar experiences. So for people who may not have both those spaces like you have, right? I think communication is top tier. Communication is going to be vitally important to getting everyone at the table that you need to get at the table, so that you can move the needle on whether it's recruitment or scholar experience. And it reminds me about, you know, conversations that we had with the instructional core, which is a totally different conversation. But it's one of those things, like, if you change one, you have to change the other. And so if you want to move the needle on recruitment or enrollment, what does your scholar experiences look like?
Yeah, right.
And if you want to move the needle on enrollment and recruitment, what is your processes and systems around that look like, right? Because all those things work in tandem to have this outcome of, like, not just having kids in schools, but kids want to be in schools. And so at the core of those three things is the human experience, and that's why I get really excited about initiatives and different initiatives and programs and pilots, because first, like, that innovation piece is something that I love, but also I am set out to accomplish that anyone who meets me has a human experience that none other. Right? Because I want scholars, when they leave our schools, like, I had the best middle school career, can't tell me anything different, right? And this is why they can communicate that. I want scholars when they come in, and just the other day you were in my office and we had 2 scholars walk in and say, we want to propose something for Hispanic Heritage Month. Let me put you on my calendar. Right? But think about the courage it took for them to say, okay, I want to go talk to my principal about something that I want to see. And they felt confident and comfortable to do that. And even that is a small token of innovation, because that was not the norm 10 or 15 years ago.
No.
You didn't go to the principal's office to talk about a proposal. You're trying to avoid the principal's office, but now it's a welcoming space of, like, how do I see things implemented in my school that I want to do? And, and so I love that scholars are taking that initiative to say, hey, can we do this? Hey, can we do that? And I'm like, write a proposal. Let's talk about it. But back to your question of, like, whatever space you find, whether it's on your scholar experiences or recruitment, if you're not able to do both of those, communication is going to be key. Communication is going to be key, and then you also have to realize that you can't change one without changing the other two. So innovation, scholar experiences, enrollment, they work in tandem.
Yeah, that's a interesting question, because I think it's rooted in leadership.
That's good too.
I think, of course, innovation is a part of our core values, but it's also, I think we're fortunate to have leadership from the top that they don't put people in boxes. And I don't know if it's just the being in a small organization and you are tasked with doing multiple things, and you're looking for people who are willing to stretch themselves and not necessarily just see themselves as, this is this is my space around it. But I do think leadership being really open to knowing their people. For example, I know I remember when you received your business degree, and having to talk with you, what are you going to do with that? How does that fit here in the space that we're doing? Are you saying you want to go into finance? You're like, no, yes. So I think it goes back to a core of relationships, and hopefully you have a team. If not, find someone, whether it's a supervisor or in another department, or if it's hopefully someone on C-level, and begin the process of building the relationships with them. I know from the aspect of a CAO, when you talk about kids, and I go back to being in the building and knowing kids, and can speak to that, it piques my interest around that, because I don't think there are very few, I would think, CAOs who don't want to improve the experiences that kids are having in that. And I think you bring a different lens from that, both from the outside in terms of what parents are saying and that. And I think just hitting on what you were saying, how you're recruiting pre-COVID is very different from, post-pandemic or post-COVID, because I feel like parents, knowing what parents want And you know, because now it's really about safety. Do you care about my kids? Are you thinking about their mental health? What does that look like? How are you communicating that back to me is a huge thing. And so I think our whole known, loved, and educated hits at a strength. That's not something we were doing before, but it's something that we tapped into around that. So really having a pulse on what's happening within the community as well as in the school is a big part of opening folks up. But don't give up on that, right?
Yeah, don't give
You're
up.
gonna find somebody, I think like you, well, I'm gonna do a club, right?
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna do something that's outside of that, because I'm confident in any organization there are ways that you can help outside of just the work that you do.
Yeah.
And supporting kids and finding a way in that. And then out of that, not only can you feel confident going there, but you have the support of the school leader, teachers, because they've seen you, hey, how can I help in this way, okay? So I think just really being intentional about tapping into the core values of the organization and then finding a way through innovation to be able to do that.
Right.
But it does really start with who, whether it's your supervisor or your CEO or CAO, and their belief in understanding that people can bring a variety of different things in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I will say now, you may want to start small. You don't want to go out and tell them, hey, I have this old thing.
Right.
And it does, and again, coming with an idea, but rooted in scholars and what this could do long term for that. I think you can't lose with that.
That is true. That is so true. But I've just had so much fun and just enjoyed our time together today. It has been absolutely amazing, and I thank you for your time, your efforts, and your work that we are doing at Gestalt Community Schools, and even just believing in my little piece, you know, and just letting me run with it, and then having a buy-in. Two amazing people and so many more, but you guys are just amazing, and I'm just thankful for the work that you do for our scholars and our families, and where we're headed and where we're taking them. So it's exciting.